Welcome to the Mom Self-Care Podcast, your safe space to finally focus on YOU. I'm Chari Twitty-Hawkins, your self-care coach for moms, praying wife, and mom of four. And I know that being a Christ-centered mom is such a beautiful calling, but it can be so draining. That's why it's important to make sure you are filling your own cup. On this podcast, we'll discuss practical, holistic self-care strategies to help nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Because a mama who fills her own cup pours that back into her family with true peace and joy. Tune in for honest conversations about motherhood and self-care because you matter too. Blessings, mamas, and welcome to the Mom Self-Care Podcast. I'm Chari Twitty-Hawkins, your host and self-care coach for moms. And today I have special guests with me, Brittany Elliott. Welcome, Brittany.
Thank you, Chari. Thanks for having me.
All right. And let me tell you guys a little bit about Brittany. She is a self-care and mom life coach. She helps working moms prioritize their needs and practice self-care in a meaningful way in their motherhood experience. She offers on-demand workshops, one-on-one coaching, and group coaching to support mothers through their journey. So tell us a little bit about yourself that's not in your official bio.
Ooh, a little bit about me. So I love to dance. I'm a big dancer. Tap dancing is one thing that I like to do with my daughter, actually, these days. I really love to dance, love to listen to music. Reading's my thing. Um, Been married. I'll be celebrating 6 years actually this weekend. 6 years married, which is good and great and wonderful. And I really like rest.
Me too.
The sleeping's my thing. Just last night, my husband said, you can go to sleep in like 2.5 seconds. I'm like, I'm a really good sleeper when I get the chance. So yeah, that's me.
That's good. I love that. I love that. We have a lot in common. I like to dance too. And I also love to read. That's so relaxing and energizing, both of them. And I love to rest too when I can. When I can. So that's awesome. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the mental load of motherhood. And that, to me, that can be more than the physical load of motherhood. It can actually impact it as well. So when you think about, like, I've seen TikToks, because you guys know who follow my podcast, I'm big on TikTok, of moms talking about the mental load of motherhood. So what exactly does that mean to you, Brittany?
Typically, when we're talking about the mental load, a lot of times we're referring to like the invisible labor of it all. So, all of the things that we're thinking about, planning ahead for. So, even for an example, like doctor's appointments, when you're remembering not only when your kids need their next doctor's appointment, but how early on can you actually schedule it? When does the insurance pay for it again because it's a wellness visit? So you're thinking about all of those things that go into that one appointment, one isolated incident, when a lot of times maybe our husband's not thinking about that. They're just thinking, I have to take my kid to the doctor on this day. Even when it comes down to what people like to eat, when you're planning your meals, who's gonna like what? What am I gonna pair this meal with? How long does it take for broccoli to go bad in the refrigerator when it's cooked and it's not cooked? So you're thinking about all of that, plus the tangibles of, okay, what size do my kids wear? Have they grown out of things? Do they have holes in their socks and underwears? Do I have grass stains? Do I need to replace this and that? Do we have milk? When does the car need oil changes? It's just all that stuff. Plus, if you work, whether it's in or outside of the home, you're thinking about all your tasks and duties and responsibilities that you have there. So it can be very overwhelming to work through all that, but also it makes you exhausted. So sometimes you can think like, well, I have rested, I have been taking care of myself. Why do I still feel run down? It's because your mental load is just working in overdrive and it's just all a mismanaged mess. So I do work to help women really get that under control so that you have more space for relaxation and self-care.
That's good. That's really good. Because you use the word overwhelm. It's like it's so much information in your brain that you like. And this makes me think about, I talked about in one of my other podcasts how we call it mom brain. Because we start forgetting things, but that's because our brain prioritizes certain things because we're getting information overload. And so we start to forget those things. Have you experienced that?
Absolutely. And it happens to me, of course, at the most inopportune times. It might happen to us while we're chatting today, so I'm just going to throw that out there. I might just lose a word. And I'll do that at work. Sometimes I might be in a meeting or I'll just be having a conversation in a group or project planning and I know what I'm talking about. I know what I want to say, but I just cannot get it. It's like my brain shuts down. And I often tell people too, like, please don't tell me any like fun facts or oddball information that I really don't need because my brain is going to absorb that and completely dump what I need to know in the next 40 minutes. So don't tell me, did you know such and such was married to this person? I don't need to know. Please don't tell me. And that happens. And I think that when it happens, Cherry, we get so frustrated with ourselves because in certain situations it can make you seem like you don't know what you're talking about. It can make you seem unprofessional. It's just when you have a lack of clarity and you're fighting with your brain to
Mhm.
just articulate simple things, it's hard. It becomes hard on your emotional wellness too. So then you have to give yourself grace and then you're in that battle of, well, am I doing enough? Am I preparing enough for the day? Am I sleeping enough? So then it just puts you back on this hamster wheel of how can I do this better? But some of that too is it could be aging. There could be other things, like maybe you're not hydrated enough. There could be so many other factors, but when it happens in real time, we're just focused on what I did and did not do. And then oftentimes we start pointing the finger at our spouse, like, well, if you would help me more, I wouldn't be, stuttering Stanley at work. And then they're saying, well, I didn't know you needed help. And now y'all are arguing. So it's a beast. It's a beast.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned actually you mentioned blanking out. You might do it on this podcast. I do remember when I was on your podcast, I totally blanked. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was like, I totally forgot what we were talking about. My brain just went boop. And
Blank slate.
girl, it's crazy. And you mentioned aging, and I'm going through perimenopause. So that's part of that. And the mental load is harder to carry because you're more emotional. Some people call it puberty in reverse. I just call it we're going through puberty again at our, what some people say, big age. And, it's hard. You're more emotional. It's harder to process things in a healthy way like you used to because your hormones are all over the place. So that's something to be aware of. And they say that can start as early as 35, which a
Mm.
lot of people don't know because we think about menopause and we think about 50. So when people start going through these things at a younger age, they're like, what is going on? Like you said, what is wrong with me? It's your body, it's your hormones. So that's something just to be aware of in your life stages.
Yeah, and to talk about it more too, because I'm 36 now. I'll be 37 this year. And I feel like I noticed probably around 34 or 35, just changes, just a lot of change. Like I can't even eat the same things anymore. It's just was different. So I talked to my mom, like,
Mm.
hey, around what time did you start having your, symptoms of like perimenopause and all that? And she was like, yeah, I think I was around your age. I'm like, well, what did it feel like? What did it look like? And a lot of us don't even want to have those conversations with other women because then we're like, I don't want to, if I say that that's what it is, then now it's a whole can of worms. But I think it's okay to talk about it in those ways, especially when it comes to your mental load, because then you can really relieve yourself of some of the things that you're trying to carry. You can just tell
Mm.
yourself, like, my brain is just overcapacitated. My body is doing a lot of other things. So this is why I need more support in all the things I need to think about, or I need to outsource more things and not think about it as much because I no longer have the capacity. And I know even this morning, we had to drop my car off this morning because it needs a recall. And I've known about the recall for like days and days and days. And I'm like, okay, I need to do this. I finally call. So I'm looking at the clock. This is what time I need to wake up. This is what time everybody else needs to wake up. I have to drive. He has to pick me up. We have to come back here. They text me right before this and said, hey, your car's ready. I'm like, well, do I rush, get my car? And it's just now I'm thinking about all the little things I need to check off. And I just
Mhm.
took a deep breath and said, hey, just work down your list that you wrote down of things you want to do today. Slow down, take a deep breath.
Mhm.
It'll be okay. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of things like ping pong going on in my brain right now. That's going to happen. But once you start to make your invisible labor more visible, you will start to feel more comfortable just letting things go and understanding that if your brain works in a ping pong way, you can just say, okay, I'm still in control though. I don't have to
Right.
act on every single thought that comes into my brain.
Yes. Oh, I totally agree. Because one of the symptoms of perimenopause is heightened anxiety or just anxiety, period. And so I have to find myself doing exactly what you said, like, Sherry, okay, just breathe. Yes, this has to be done, but we carry our emotions in our body. I've talked about that many times on the podcast. And I can feel it in my chest, I can feel it in my shoulders, or even up in my neck when I'm starting to feel stressed, when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. When I start feeling that, deep breath, relax until I feel my muscles relaxing. And like, okay, it's going to get done. It's going to be okay. It's not a, most of the times, it's not an emergency. So I totally agree with that.
And then we can teach our kids to do that too. My daughter, she's 7, and sometimes I'll see her just walking around her. I could tell that her mind is going. Like even if she's trying to set up just a little situation with her Barbie so that we can play together. And so I'll say to her, "What do you think we should do first?" And try to just get her to think more sequentially so that
Mm,
hopefully that curbs whatever even little tiny mental load she may be carrying. Because a lot of times, like she just wants to play and she's all these things that she wants to play. And I tell her, how about I just tell you right now, we are definitely going to play all 10 of the things you want to play today. What do you want to do first? How would you like to set it up? And then she'll say, okay, well, we're going to do it. We're going to write down our list and then we'll go down and check it off. Now, it's great that I can do that for her, and I'm not so great at always regulating that with me. But because I'm teaching her that, she is starting to notice if I'm kind of going off the rails with trying to do too much. And she'll say, Mommy, I can only do one thing at a time. What do you want me to do first? And I think that that's kind of a beautiful part of it in motherhood is that sometimes raising children, or a lot of the times, it's a reflection, like it's a mirror.
yep.
And it's like you're raising up little parts of yourself too when you're raising your kids. So that's been very fruitful, I think, and beneficial in the motherhood experience overall to do that.
Yes, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Good job. For real, good job. I love that. Teaching them just one thing at a time. I need to do that with my boys. I need to be more intentional. I say boys, I have a daughter as well, but she'll do that on her own.
Mm.
But with my boys, it's like I'll be like, do this and do that and do that. And they're like, what?
Yeah, which one do you want me to do first?
Like, Mom,
And
you just told me.
and it's like in your mind when you throw it out there, you don't even realize it's coming out how quickly it is.
Mhm.
And I think our spouses are really helpful for that because sometimes I call it like a mental load spiral, and I will literally just be kind of walking in circles, like walking through this list before, like, for example, before we leave the house, even to go on a trip, I'm doing these laps around the house, going through my list, like, do we have this? Do we have that? And I just keep doing this loop, and he will
Mhm.
just stop me, like with his hands, like with his body, create a barrier, and he'll say, just go to the car. Just go to the car. Because he's very much like, you did all the preparation. If we forgot a toothbrush or something else, we'll just buy it. Like, I'm not gonna let you stress yourself out over a beach towel, over this. Like, it's not that important. Whereas me, that's one thing I learned about my husband. He's very much like when he leaves the house, do I have my wallet? Do I have my keys? Do I have my wife? Do I have my daughter? That's it.
Oh, I love that.
Me, I'm
I love
like,
that.
do I have my purse? Do I have snacks? Do I have a change of clothes? Do I have an extra charger? Do I have her tablet, my tablet, his tablet? All these
Exactly.
things. Is my bag big enough to carry all this stuff? Which route are we going to take? All these things. What if we need a jacket? What if it rains? Umbrellas and all this stuff that you don't need, but I have a tendency to over prepare. And I
Mhm.
notice that with a lot of the mothers I work with, we are trying to make it so we don't encounter any inconveniences outside of our home, that we're trying to bring all our needs with us. And it makes us not be present when we're out in the world. Because if we go out there and let's say you do end up needing something, that so what? You have 10 of them at home and you just need it. Now it's an adventure that y'all can take to a store that may be a new store in a new place that you've never been, and that creates an experience instead of going there and being mad at yourself because, oh, I knew that we were going to need sunscreen and I didn't grab it, and now we're at the store wasting time when I wanted to get there by 10. We gotta let go of control. Cherry, am I speaking to you?
Yeah, can you tell by how I'm reacting? Can you tell? I'm like, oh my gosh, that is me. That is so me. And my husband, he's like, he's the same way. He's like, if we leave it, we'll just get another one. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't want to get another one. We have it at the house.
I already bought one. I don't want another.
Right, right. I actually bought some to take on the trip. But
Hmm.
as you said, trying to be in control, but I'm learning. My husband is teaching me. Like you said, hey, we'll end up going to a store, having a good time. The kids have fun, which that's what we really want when we're going on vacation and stuff. Besides, we want to have fun too, but we really want our kids to have fun. So they can even remember, can we go to that Walmart or that Whole Foods or that
Yeah.
whatever that we went to? And you're like, that wasn't even planned. But
Yeah, they always love the stuff that you don't plan and the stuff that's the most inconvenient for you or the rest stop you didn't want to stop at because you had to take, a detour. And I think in life there are just so many things that we cannot control. And being pregnant, I know for me, pregnancy felt like I was so out of control because there are things that they tell you that you should do, like how you should eat, how you should move your body, and all these things. But I kept worrying, like if something goes wrong, is there anything that I could do better? You're just always thinking of that. And then as you raise your child, I feel like we always feel that pressure that if something bad happens to my child, it's going to be on the mom because we see that a lot happen. People are like, "Well, where was the mom when
mhm.
that happened?" And so you carry a lot of that and to overcompensate because honestly the chances of something bad happening are pretty slim, but to overcompensate for that you try to just hold on a tight grip to controlling all of these other things, and then you're missing out on being present and staying present. So I found that auditing my mental load, and which is a tool I created for moms, is to just be able to even sit with your spouse and say, okay, these are all the tasks, these are all the to-dos, these are all the things that I think of in running our household and raising our kids. Let's go through this together and see, do you think about that? Do you not think about that? And instead of it being a tool where you just blame the other person, I felt for us, like my husband can see, like, oh, you think about all that stuff throughout
Right.
the day. That's interesting that your brain works like that. And I can say to him, like, oh, that's what you're thinking about when you're just in the corner, like kind of quiet. You're thinking about this. I never think about that. And then it humanizes your partner too. Like they are carrying a mental load. It just looks completely different from what we are carrying. And so it just kind of brings us together. And then you can better support each other and just both be happier parents and show up better.
I think that's awesome because I talk about mom guilt because that's a lot of what stops moms from having self-care. And then when they're doing it, they're not present because they're feeling guilt. And they're like, I'm reading comments again on TikTok, of course. And they're like, dads don't go through this. I'm like, yes, they do. Yes, they
Hmm.
do. They may not talk about it, but they go through it. They're worried about different things. And they're like, am I not good enough?
And it's interesting because so recently we had a storm here and it knocked out our power and the whole neighborhood, like the whole city of Pittsburgh didn't have power for days. And
Mm,
so we went maybe 4 or 5 days without power or anything. We had to throw out all the food and do all that stuff. And that hit my husband pretty hard. And it was nothing that had to do with him, but then he was, going to work. We were both going to work and he's like, they don't have any power at home. What if something else happens? And he's carrying the pressure of protector, provider. We didn't have a generator. So he was like, ugh, why didn't I have a generator? Just all these things. But we don't get big storms like that. So it
mm,
wasn't just him, but he really carried that. Whereas me, the whole time I was like, hey, it's fine. We're fine. We're safe. The doors are locked. Nothing's going to happen. So in that moment, in that storm, I was completely calm and he was elevated up
mm-hmm,
here. Whereas
mm-hmm.
normally it's like this. So our spouse, your husband is definitely carrying things that you probably wouldn't even think about. And I would argue that you would think that those things aren't as important, just like he would argue that the things that you think about aren't as important. It's just what's important to you is always going to be important to you. And within
Mhm.
that, you still have to meet your partner for who they are and work through it together, support each other the best you can, and still find ways to pour into yourselves, pour into your overall wellness so that you can be your best selves for each other and for your kids.
Mhm. How do you feel this overload of information, the mental load that we hold as motherhood, how does it affect how we view ourselves, not just as moms, but as women?
I think, unfortunately, we look at them differently because I know with a lot of moms, they'll identify themselves as a mom and then like completely forget about their woman part, like your entire woman identity and your passions. I think that before we become mothers, we definitely have a mental load, and then our mental load is our superpower. We're just like, look at all these things that I can handle and get done, and I can show up and still be smiling, still look great. I only slept for 4 hours, but I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you can't push through in the same way when you're a mother and that's happening. And I want women to start making their ways back to themselves as the woman and to center themselves as the woman first so
Mm-hmm.
that when you're whole in who you are and your identity as a woman and your strength as a woman, everything else is going to pour back out into you. You're going to be a better wife. You're going to be a better mother. You're going to be a better daughter, a better friend, all of these things. But when we're keeping our lives separate, like, oh, well, I can't be a woman with my own interests and all that. I just have to be a mom. Everything has to be filtered through the mom lens.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that through the mental load, it causes, like you said, that guilt. It causes more pressure. You feel like it is your duty to be thinking about every little thing. Like, my kid has a wiggly tooth. It's wiggly today. Let me see. Let me go online and see. It'll take about 20 days for that tooth to fall out, which means I will need to get the little tooth fairy note ready for the 21st day. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You gotta just, you're just trying to create so much magic in your kid's life because you're so passionate about motherhood and all these things. But it's like, let's just get them up on time, get them where they need to go, be present with them and have conversations. And honestly, Cherry, I don't think social media helps because there are so many like moms who just are just really their personalities are just crafty. They're DIYers. They just
Mm-hmm.
do things big. And I remember I used to feel like, man, for Valentine's Day, I just took this little box that I bought from online and she done built a whole like claw machine. What am I doing? But it's really like that was her personality. That made her happy. That's who
Mm-hmm.
she is. I'm not that type of person. I'm not even interested in that. So that's why it was so important for me to just reconnect with who I am, what makes me passionate. What do I like to do? I like to dance. So I dance with my daughter all the time. You rarely see me like just going outside and climbing trees with her because I don't want to do that. So I don't do it. So and then I think we woven into the mental load, we're thinking about how we were raised and what we maybe didn't get to experience because maybe our parents didn't have the money that we have. Maybe we were raised by a single mom. Maybe they were working multiple jobs. Maybe we were a latchkey kid and we're like, I don't want this to happen to my kid. So now we're doing more overcorrecting. And now you're
Mm-hmm.
carrying things in your mental load that have nothing to do with anyone else. It's like
Right.
now, sis, you need like therapy and prayer and coaching and support because you are putting all this extra weight on yourself that has nothing to do with the job that we've been given with really the gift we've been given in motherhood. Like you're just kind of making things compound that have nothing to do with this role. So it gets very, I mean, it's just deep. It just gets very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when I work with moms, like we just go from the beginning. Just I need to help you meet yourself where you are so that we can grow from there. Not who you want to be, not who you wish you were, not the budget you wish you had, none of that. We're going to start with what is right now,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll chart the path to where you're trying to go.
That's awesome. Start with the beginning, going back. We talking about your inner child and the things that the issues you may be dealing with now at age 45, 50. that you didn't deal with when you were younger. So it doesn't magically go away, no matter how you pretend it doesn't exist. It's going to come back up, especially with, like you mentioned, us raising our kids and being our mirror. They're going to say, wait, that's how I used to act. Wait, that's how I still act. And
Hmm.
I don't want my child acting like that.
But I think we still have to release control with I have found that there are just it's like you can have multiple kids. I mean, I only have one, but I know people with several kids, and it's like they're doing the same things. You're parenting pretty similar, and your kids just come out like they're just different.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own temperaments, their own personalities. You can only control what you can. And I think you really have to focus on that. And one thing that you definitely can control is how you take care of yourself. And that's where self-care comes in. You can control you getting up early before the house and taking care of yourself, whether it's prayer, walking, journaling, doing a little workout, just focusing on you, drinking your coffee while it's hot, being kind to yourself, writing yourself appreciation letters, doing all those small things that you know are going to uplift you so that you can address your needs first.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one that's taking that away from you. So if you are not prioritizing your self-care, the tough love in that is you're doing that to yourself because you are in control of how you treat yourself at whatever stage of motherhood that you are in. Self-care is going to look different at every stage, but if you are in a sense blaming your kids or blaming motherhood for
Mm-hmm.
your barrier to be able to take care of yourself, you really have to take a step back and ask yourself, why do I feel that way? And what does motherhood look like for me? Does it look like me not taking care of myself?
Mm-hmm.
And if you know that's not true, then it's time to make a change.
Right. And do I want my kids to follow the same thing,
Yep.
which I don't think you do. I don't think you do. I don't.
Exactly.
I don't. For a mom, and you've mentioned some wonderful things to do, but for a mom who is already overwhelmed with the mental load, and I know a lot of moms view self care as, there's another thing on my to do list. And I know, and I've talked about how you have to shift your mindset with that. But for a mom who is in that, what would you say is the first thing that she needs to do to work on getting, letting go of some of that mental load that she's carrying?
So I highly recommend doing the mental load audit that I offer. You can get it on my website, because it really is a list. It's you don't, all the work that you're doing is reading and checking it off. Do I do it? Do I not do it? And then I walk you through how to analyze that. But also the tangible things that you can do outside of that when you're thinking, I want to do self-care, but I don't have time and I don't know what to do. I always say focus on just mind, body, and spirit. So for your mind, we're gonna journal. You don't have to go out and buy a journal. You can just get a scratch piece of paper. You can just go in your notes app and just write how you're feeling. How do I feel today? What do I need today? How am I feeling in my body? How did I sleep? Just those small little prompts. Even in the iPhone, the journal app in the iPhone gives you prompts. They're automatically there and you just can answer them and it'll do a running save. And even mine, there's a timer on it. Every night at 8 p.m. it says time for your journal entry. So I don't even have to think about it. I can just get on and do it. For your body, it's just moving it, move it, stretch it. You can lift weight, you can just walk around the house, you can do push-ups, you can really just lay and stretch, do deep breathing. That's very important because we get this disconnect between mind and body, but we're all one. And
Mm-hmm.
so to move your body does tend to relax the racing in your mind. And then for your spirit, you want to sit in prayer and sit in silence and sit in meditation and really feel connected to something bigger than you. You know, you really do need to strengthen your spiritual connection because that's what really keeps you grounded, right? And it keeps you going. So when
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for something tangible, I say start with those three things and only focus on 5 minutes every day of that because it's really hard to because I agree with you, Terry. There are mindset shifts that you need, and I always start with 5 mindset shifts that I think all mothers need to have. But to clear the space for that, you really have to really focus and sit with yourself for some time
Mm-hmm.
to prepare yourself for the change that is about to come.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is your favorite form of self care?
Ooh, my favorite? My favorite form of self-care is moving my body, I would say, even though I'm such a grouch about working out and I always say, hate doing it. It makes me feel stronger. It puts me into my body and reminds me like who I am, and I feel good in
Mhm.
myself. And then it's journaling. So writing out in my mind, just doing a brain dump. Those
Mhm.
are my top two favorites. And if I'm not doing that, I would just like sleep. But for me, it's just they all, go together. Like my morning routine is I move my body, I journal, and then I pray. And so, like, all of that is what gets me ready for the day. And I really feel like I can tackle anything in the day when I do that. But if you're just starting out and you want to do one thing, I would highly recommend just journaling. Just get it out of your head so that you can see what's going on.
Yeah, I say the same thing. Just start with getting those thoughts out. Okay. And do you have a free gift for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the roadmap back to you. You can download that at back2in5.com/mom.
Awesome. And I'll have the information down in the description or the show notes, whatever they call it. But thank you so much for being with us today, Brittany. I really enjoyed our chat today. It really felt like just a conversation instead of, an interview, an
Yeah.
official interview. So I really enjoyed it. I hope this blessed you, mamas, and just really, because I know there's so much we're carrying mentally and it affects our whole lives. It shows up, even if we try to hide it, if we try to pretend, I'm super strong, I'm super mama, nothing, I'm perfect, all the things. You're not perfect. We're all human. We all need to show ourselves grace. We all need God's grace. So thank you again so much, Brittany.
Thanks for having me.
And guys, if you have not, make sure you save this episode, come back and take notes, subscribe if you have not, and share with the mama that you love. Until next time, take care. God bless. Thanks so much for joining me for the Mom Self Care Podcast. I hope you feel inspired to make yourself a priority too. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Share this podcast with another mama you love and leave a review. Also, feel free to let me know what you would like to hear about in future episodes by visiting me on Instagram at CIC Inspire Me. Until next time, take some time to take care of YOU because you matter too.